Hey guys. Sorry, I'm gonna give it a second because I think Amy has to approve this on the wall. I don't want to get started without anybody. So I will wait until someone is watching. 2 peeps, here we go. All right. Wins all around. Hey, hey. What up, guys? I'm just gonna give it a minute or two and see who shows up. GP, is there a bobby pin in there? Never mind. Hi, guys. Sorry, I should have my hair done before this, but I didn't. So tonight, Amy asked me to come and kind of, whoa, what is going on here? Amy asked me to come and kind of share my, I don't know, I guess take on sales and how you can like really sell LuLaRoe. I find there are, sorry, it's like the third time I've done a ponytail. There are a lot of people like pushing LuLaRoe, right? There's probably a lot more side hustle people out there, people who have this as a side hustle, than they do people who are like truly selling the heck out of it. And what I want to be able to do is offer, I literally have done this ponytail 8 times and this embarrassingly just isn't cutting it. What you can do to make sure you are selling the heck out of this instead of just being someone who, you know, happens to have a lot of inventory that sometimes people buy. So I'm going to give it just 2 more minutes really quick. Sorry for letting a little bit late, and then I will get started. So just small talk. I am Jenn McDonald, for you guys that don't know. I have been with LuLaRoe for like a year, I guess. This is my anniversary month. My first party was on the 4th of January of last year. And prior to LuLaRoe, I had helped run training programs for corporate sales. So I worked for ADP and also worked for a technology, I guess, vendor, broker, where I did some of the sales programs there. So I am well versed in corporate America sales. You will hear a lot of things that are probably going to bore you to death a little bit, but if you really take in the idea of selling, I think that it will be to your benefit. I can see comments that are like relatively close to live time with this new iPad. So if you guys have questions, please let me know. I got into LuLaRoe last year after I got laid off from ADP. You know, I guess it would have been 2 years prior. I got laid off when my 4th baby was born. I am a mom of 5. My kids are 10, 6, 4, 2, and Callahan, who was born in August, will be, I guess, 5 months at the end of the month. When I got laid off when Murphy was born, I was epically devastated. For any of you that have ever done corporate America sales or who have been in corporate America or there now, I was so astronomically loyal to the business that I worked for, and climbing the corporate ladder meant a lot to me. And I got my kicks off of sales numbers and growing numbers and mathematically equating my value to a business based on what I provided and the numbers that I brought. And I'd always been really rewarded for that. Promotion-wise, business-wise, trips, just extra compensation and incentives. It was awesome, like literally awesome. Coming out of college and being able to win trips to Vegas and being in President's Club and all of the cool things. I mean, it was cool, right? And then I got laid off, and it was that first time that I was like, oh man, and literally just an associate ID number. Like, they must have just went to the drawing board. And after I'd moved to the corporate side of things and left sales and went to sales ops, They literally must have just went to a board, put salaries on the board, and just like chopped half of them. And it was the first time that I realized that I was equating my worth to like the world kind of with someone else's perception of how valuable I was. And as much as I acted calm, cool, and collected to that, I got picked up by a client like super fast. Honestly, they give me 2 weeks notice and I had enough vacation time to like just walk out. And I had a new job before that next paycheck came. So I got paid for 2 weeks already having a new job, which should have been amazing, right? But it wasn't. I jumped right into that and I was lost. I was lost for like who I was. I had worked on every vacation. I did a sales order on the bed I delivered my son on the day he was born. He was born at 7. I was doing a sales order at 9:30. I took sales calls in Disney World in line for Space Mountain. I worked from the beach. I brought a printer to the beach one year because I knew I needed to do stuff. So I have always needed to work, and it was so hurtful to me to have sacrificed so much time as my kids were little for something that then in the blink of an eye was gone. So I worked for this client and I like tried to get into it and I just couldn't. And LuLaRoe found me at a time where I was feeling super gross. Amen to all the ladies out there who have felt that moment, right? Super gross. And it was the first time that I was able to put clothing on. And I always joke, if anybody ever gets to see me do this live, I was like wearing like college hoodies, like ripped college hoodies. I'm like, I'm 30, so you probably shouldn't do that anymore. So I needed to find like an adult wardrobe and I just couldn't. I was an athlete and then I was this mom and I was supposed to work and I just didn't have a wardrobe that fit that lifestyle. So much like all of you, I'm sure the rest of this is all the same song and dance, right? You've tried something on, changed your life. You try to joke about how it's silly that it changes your life, but it did. And you can't go back. You can't unknow it. So I jumped on board. I think I onboarded in like the end of December. And it was the first time that I was doing something where I was like, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to work on days that are important to me. And that's why I'm here. I am here because of the mom guilt. That's why I'm here. Because I vowed that I would never feel guilty. I would never do anything that made me feel guilty as a parent in terms of work anymore. So just so you know where I come from, we're up to 40 people, so I'm going to get kicking with the sales stuff. That is me. I am probably shouting at the camera, so if you guys want to tell me to pipe it down, I understand. But I'm just that kind of person. I like to feel things. I like to get excited about things, and I just decided that I wasn't going to do anything in the world that I wasn't passionate about anymore. And that's why I'm here, because this is something that's important to me, and more so than just selling on my own, doing the traditional, I love women feeling beautiful and empowering women in leadership, although all those things are very important to me. The idea of doing something that I owned on my own was important. And actually now, the idea of being able to help people make their own businesses successful, it actually is more fun to me than even selling the stuff itself. So I normally kick off sales with like, what is sales, right? And if any of you guys were in Savannah when I did that training, you know, someone always raises their hand and it's like, you know, it's when somebody buys something. And that's true. And I always ask someone to sell me the clothing that they're wearing. And the first thing that people always do is they're like, oh, this is so great. This would look so great on you. Your skin complexion looks really good with gray. And it's so comfortable. And usually, you know, I refuse to buy it and then everybody gets disappointed. But the purpose of being able to go out and do something different is if you really understand what the anatomy of a sale is. You've got to understand what the basis for selling is. And, you know, Deanne and Mark, I haven't had a lot of interaction with them, but if you listen to the things that they value and what they want us to be able to do with our businesses, slapping your inventory online and like crossing your fingers that someone buys it is not selling clothing. It's not what you're doing. That's like kind of displaying online photos. I don't know what the other word for it would be, but just blindly throwing things online is not going to get you where you need to be. I will tell you, a year and a half ago, probably could have. There was so little on the market as it is that you probably could have like taken a one photo, like a panoramic of your entire inventory and been okay. Those days are gone, and it's exciting that they are, because this is where you get to start doing things that are like really you. You know, whether it's live sale, whether it's Periscope, sorry, I couldn't think of it. Whether it's Periscope, whether it's in-home, whatever it is, you've got to decide what you bring to the table as a salesperson. And I think understanding where you came from is so important. So LuLaRoe loves the color lenses, right? And if you have never done the color lens thing, God, please do. It's amazing. But LuLaRoe like really hammers it. Like, you're an orange, so you're cool. Or you're a green, you might be boring, but you're probably smart. Like, it's very boxes. But everybody knows the cooler answer is to say that you're like a blue-orange. Like, that just seems like you value relationships and you like to have fun. And sometimes people are not able to be honest about what they truly, truly are out in the wild. So I always like to make sure that you start off understanding who you are. Where do you come from? What got you here? And it's not just about the why. It's about what your personality looks like to the people who perceive you. So I'm pretty outgoing. At the same time, I'm wildly sensitive, which is really confusing because I look like I, talk a big game and really can handle a lot. But at the end of the day, I like overanalyze and get nervous. So, as an example, like my mom was the youngest of 4 kids, and her father was a funeral director, and like very my girl, if you guys have ever seen that. So she grew up like observing dead bodies and like watching families grieve, and truthfully, like day in and day out of her life, listened to people be like, life is so short. Like, life is short. You never realize how life short is. Like, the poor kid grew up wondering and worrying that people like drop dead the following day. Like, that you could literally be dead tomorrow. And that is how she formed her opinion on everything. So she's in the moment. She's a little judgmental. And she also just does anything to make sure people aren't mad. She will say something and then kind of back out of it because she worries, and not literally anymore, but she did, that could be the last time you ever talk to someone. Like, what if that person was dead tomorrow? And that allowed her to get walked on a lot. And I think that is, when you meet her, if you didn't know that, you would wonder, like, she's like a little defensive and she's kind of like over the top. But once you understand where she came from, it makes more sense. And I was raised by someone who thought everybody died tomorrow. So I get super sensitive and super defensive, and it's really a bad quality, but that's how I am. So when I interact with people online, I tend to avoid conflict at any moment. I try never to say anything negative, and this is just me. I have girls on my team who can be like, hey, I don't like when you write that on my wall. And it works for them, and that's awesome. But I tend to really err on the side of caution. I give a lot of stuff away, and that's just who I am. So again, taking a moment to just understand who you are as a human being and what you bring to the table and how you are going to be perceived by the people that you're interacting with, especially if you're trying to be an online personality, is something that needs to be kind of like laid out. If you've got a spouse in the business, I recommend you guys get on the same page so that it's not too, like, good cop and bad cop doesn't really work online. It works better if you guys are in the same vein. So that's something I would recommend as number 1. Number 2 is understanding that LuLaRoe has provided almost like too many resources to us. So if you go on Fashion Fundamentals, you literally could be a newly onboarded person and like just throw your stuff online. Like, you really could. Like, the power is there because they give you size charts. They give you the explanation of all of the pieces. They give you photos so that you can show what stuff goes together, which is especially helpful if you don't have the guts to put it on yourself. But all of those things, much like scary movies to a child if they grow up watching them, it kind of desensitizes you to like what people are really looking for and being able to be a resource to them. So the definition of a sale is providing something that someone else is looking for. And I think for us, it's trying to figure out, one, what people are looking for, or two, kind of telling them what they're looking for without really saying it like that. So introducing them to something that they don't even know that they want yet. But going back to the LuLaRoe resources, it's really important, and especially me, for someone who's green, right? I value competency. I want to know that somebody knows what they're talking about. I can remember shopping at my first LuLaRoe party and being one of those weirdos that was like, is the circumference of an Irma gonna look good if you tuck it into a, like, just because I want to know if the person knows what they're talking about. So for those people who tend to be the biggest pain, being able to know what the pieces do. You can't provide a benefit statement, we're gonna go over that in a second, or a feature if you didn't actually experience the clothes alone. So step one, go in your Lula room, your closet, your garage, whatever the heck it is, and put, oh yeah, the 4 lenses, sorry, Amy, yeah. I'll throw colors out there, I'll try to remember. It's like so embedded. So go put the clothes on. Like, for the love of all that is holy, go put them on. I don't care if you don't think you can wear a Randy. I don't think I can wear a Randy either, but sometimes I just put one on to remind myself what it makes me feel like. You know, for me, it makes me feel like I'm wearing a Baby Gap shirt, no matter what size I put on. But that just goes to show that when someone comes into shop that I know is built like me, I'm going to be able to say, you can try one, but like, you might not love it. The last thing you want to do to a female is invite them out of their comfort zone, tell them to try clothes on, which makes everyone self-conscious, and then hand them something that isn't going to fit them. Like, sales is not convincing someone to buy flesh-colored leggings. It's not. That's like manipulation. That's different. It's negative. It's not fun. And it causes returns. Any manipulation of anybody that walks into your Lula room is just going to result in somebody either giving you a bad review or returning it. So put the clothes on, write down how they make you feel. Like a perfect t-shirt, I love it. It makes me feel naked. I love it oversized. I didn't love it as much pregnant because it was like really like bam pregnant, but I like it now more than I ever did. I like that it has a scoop neck because I have a larger chest, so I don't feel like I'm making anything look risque. I can make a classic t-shirt look pretty terrible pretty quick. The classic t-shirts, I feel like I can put the biggest size I've ever thrown on my body on and just can't seem to get the fit right. But that's okay, because I know when I write that stuff down, that when people come to shop with me, I'm going to be able to compliment them based on what I have, right? So I don't have a defined waist. For those things that I don't love, I know that I can offer to someone who walks in with a clearly defined waist. Fit and flare does not necessarily work for me, but I know the body types that it will work for because I've seen them. So I challenge you, when you post things for sale, put your personal feelings about the pieces. So like a Julia, I mean, I know that it's not the most flattering dress, but I always joke in all my pop-ups. If I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, I want to be wearing a Julia because it needs to be my ghost outfit. Because I've never felt sexier. I don't really care what people think, because once you get it on and you feel good, you never want to take it off. Carly's the polar opposite. You could literally, I could be fat under here, you wouldn't even know. Those are the kinds of like funny side comments, but that are honestly going to give people perspective into what you're selling. If you're gonna sell outfits that go together. Don't just con people into buying things. People don't like that. So try the clothes on, write down descriptions, and use them in your pop-up. If you don't want to use them as the album cover, no big deal, but make sure you're commenting and engaged. Step 2, I always talk about social media. I mean, nobody teaches social media better than Amy does, so just making sure you're posting on a regular basis and understanding that there's a huge difference between content and engagement, and you've really got to balance both. You can post a trillion, show me how you row, how are you feeling today? You know, I don't know if any of you guys have Beachbody coaches on your timeline, but you know, they've always got those open-ended questions they want people to comment on. But balancing that with just content. Like today is a Madison weather day. You could throw a light sweater on, a tank top, and wear a Madison, and it would be amazing. Making sure that you're really, really in tune and it's not garbage. So don't just schedule to post 3 times a day to get your social media numbers up if you don't have anything to say 3 times a day. Content and engagement are 2 totally different things, and you need to make sure that you're balancing the 2 of them. There's no magic number for that. It's really going to be where you come from. It's going to be who you are. You know, if you're super quiet and you're posting 72 times a day and then you go live and you're like, here's a Sarah. I think it's a small. I think it's blue. Might be mint. That's how you are live, and then you're going to try to like blast people online on your timeline. It doesn't match, and people are going to know that. So again, understanding who you are, what you're trying to convey, and then finding a balance of engagement and content that fit that. The other big thing that I get feedback on all the time is like, I try to go and do these like glorious prophetic speeches for everyone, and there's always one. And if you're in the crowd, don't speak, please. There's always one that's like, well, it'd be really nice if I had all my shipments on time. There's always one, and I'm always left like smiling, but since I can't see any of you, I'm allowed to have this conversation now. There is a huge benefit to scheduling parties based on the amount of inventory you have, instead of trying to schedule inventory for the number of parties you have. Let me repeat that. There is a beauty and a strategy in scheduling parties based on the inventory you have instead of vice versa. What I mean by that is, if you've got leftovers or you're running a little bit low, go to a local salon or go to a corner, where you're allowed to post. We do I don't mean just a corner, but in my town, in town hall, there's like for like farmers market day, they do, what am I looking for? Food vans, food trucks. And you can, as long as you do a city permit, you can kind of like plop yourself anywhere. And for those 2 hours, you're allowed to go and purposely only bring 2 racks. And be feisty. I can only bring 1/4 of my inventory because I had so much. Come shop with me next Thursday when your inventory gets there. Being able to go into a salon where you can only bring leggings and being able to say, I have so much more than this, but there's no way I could fit it all in here because space is kind of tight, but you're more than welcome to come and shop at the house. First available time slot I have is a week from Saturday. Being able to have a conversation with people where you can still bait them into buying from you, and not worrying that you don't have enough. The worst decision you could ever make is to cancel a party because you don't have enough. There's no reason to do that. There's always a way to say, this is a sampling. Because seriously, you can't even imagine how much little I have in my house. And that works. So again, parties for the inventory and not vice versa. I'm not saying you can't ever order extra stuff for a party, but I just mean, we can't control shipping. We can't control UPS. UPS is dropping the ball on my last 2 shipments. We can't do that. So the things I can control are the way I run a party. And I think the more that you stay stay in your lane. Control things that you can control. The more you sit and talk about things that you can't control, someone else is selling your people LuLaRoe right now. There's enough of us out there, guys. If you're not going to sell it to your people, I'm going to. I am going to find them online and I'm going to sell to them. So I think that you need to find that newly found confidence to be able to say, I'm really proud of the amount of stuff that I have and it's awesome. Even if you don't believe that, fake it till you make it. Somebody's got to fake the funk. And that's a salesy thing to do. Just to take a moment, there's a bunch of people watching this who are like, it's so salesy. I'm not salesy. I'm just not. I don't have a sales personality. Let's be real. You might not have a sales personality, but somewhere you paid $5,000 to join a sales organization. Somewhere you jumped on board and thought that was a good idea. So I want you to know, even if you do not have the God-given ability to wake up at 3 and try to hustle popsicle sticks or brownies or lemonade on your family's driveway, I can help you make sure that you are able to move these pieces, but you have got to figure out what your style is. And I think that is the biggest thing. Number 2 is going to be or 3. I don't even know number 1. Like sales skills. You need to have a benefit statement and a feature for each one of those clothes. So guess what? The Amelia features an external zipper, outside zipper. It's amazing. And the benefit of that is you can wear it backwards and you can nurse in it if you need to. By the way, Madison has the feature of pockets. Benefit of that is I have never went anywhere where I did not need chapstick. Fact. I have never went anywhere and not lost either 1, my cell phone, or 2, my keys. So you've got to come up with what the features of our clothing are and what the benefit to the person that you're talking to is. Don't walk up to someone who's pear-shaped who's very heavy on the bottom and small on the top and be like, oh my gosh, a maxi skirt's gonna be amazing. Unless the maxi skirt's actually amazing. Don't walk up to a redhead and be like, the only thing I have left is this red polka dotted maxi and everybody's been dying for it. No, you're lying. You've had that maxi forever. I know it, and it should not go to someone with red hair. That's fact. True life. So being able to come up with things, I challenge you to go out to your Lula room, pick out 5 items, and come up with a feature of that item and a benefit. And then go do wall drops. Rando commando on a Friday. Hey, had to drop this shirt here because I just realized how amazing it is. I've been trying my own inventory on, and I just realized that I will never wear an outfit that doesn't have pockets anymore. I think that things like that are things that people skip over. And they skip over it to sit at a pop-up. I just went to this vendor event, and I went on purpose just to creep people because that's what I do. And this girl was like, do you like those leggings? Okay, I'm here if you need me. And that's what you did for the whole vendor event. The whole time, face in a phone, face doing something else, too nervous to talk to a crowd. And it's really important that you don't present yourself like that. You have got to muster up the courage to walk up to people to say, what brought you here? Tell me, there's something that struck your eye. I saw the look on your face. What was it? And get people to talk about what they're looking for. Women they love talking about what they are self-conscious about. I love talking about it. I do it all the time. Somebody, when I was pregnant, was like, this Amelia would be amazing. I'm like, I have a flotation device around my waist. An Amelia would be terrible, but I appreciate your help. I love being able to talk about what I think I'll be great in. And frankly, in a super girly way, I love hearing that other people think that I think the same way I do about myself. So if I think a Carly will look great, people want to hear that a Carly would look great. They don't want to hear, they're $55, I'm here if you need me. They want you to be engaged. So just like social media, where you're going to post content and engagement in 2 separate ways, when you are live, you need to do the same thing. Your content is your clothing. So what are you going to do to engage your audience? What are you going to do to get people to try on Nicole's? I really want to know. You should take a piece of paper and write down right now. What are you going to do to get them to try it on? The other thing I do, and I really try, I did it in Savannah. I was so proud of myself because I had never put a Cassie skirt on. They just don't love me post-baby. Wear something that you want people to buy that you wouldn't normally showcase. If you hate it and it's not moving, you need to wear it. And I can't even explain why. It just has to happen. I had the most terrible Lindsay I think I've ever seen. And I wore it live to say that I was introducing Lindsay's, and that sold. And the girl was like, I can't believe that I never found this Lindsay before. And I felt like being like, this has been posted for months. You've seen this Lindsay 100 times. But there was a difference when I put it on. So try the clothes on, write down the way they make you feel. Understand the emotional engagements of your people. So when they talk about being hippie, when they talk about being small-chested or large-chested or too petite to wear an Irma, you need to be able to say, this is not the size chart, but this is how much I feel in my bones that you're going to love this. and here's why you won't. And that's not to sound salesy, although it's awesome, but it is to reduce returns. When you're honest with people and they feel like they got in the same spot you did when they bought it, they are less likely to return it because they feel like they made that decision on their own. It wasn't where you convinced them to buy something. The other thing is, if you're not doing in-homes right now, I know you hear this all the time. I can tell you right now, I got this business started totally online. 100%. 100%. In fact, my first in-home, you know those like how you have to hit the button and push the two bars together for the collapsible racks. I caught my finger in the collapsible rack and I almost cut my finger off all over like 6 Amelias. And I vowed I was never going to do an in-home ever again. And out of fear, I really didn't. This market does not call for being online alone. It just doesn't. People want to see it. They want to smell it. They want to touch it. They want to know what their friends are talking about. They want to have seen it. They have heard horror stories about other consultants. So they want to know that you're like legit and that you exist. So do it. You know, establish yourself as a legitimate retailer. And I hate the word retailer, but it's true. The only thing is when we say retailer, I think it gives you the idea that you can slap yourself together, throw inventory up in a room and expect people to shop. And that's not going to work either. People buy from you, or they could buy from the girl down the street, or they can buy from someone online. And the only difference is going to be what you do differently. So again, things we talked about, setting yourself apart, knowing who you are, and what your capacities are, and what your goals are so that you can go full steam ahead. 2, put the clothes on, be able to explain them in your own words. If you have to go in your team chat to say, well, a size 16 fit in an extra large Nicole, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. If you have to ask those questions, you're doing it wrong. Go outside, know what size you are, throw a Nicole on, and decide for yourself if you think it would work and why. And that's really important. Go to a girl that you feel like might be an extra large Nicole because you've heard about it and say, are you comfortable in this? Tell me, like, do you love the size or do you wish that most materials ran a little bit bigger? Being able to answer questions with a level of understanding are going to get people to buy from you because the oranges aren't going to care. And these are the color lenses. People who are like, whoa, LuLaRoe aren't going to care. People who are gold in the room that are going to come in and be like, I was invited here and I feel obligated to buy something, probably aren't going to care as much. And they're going to buy from you because I'm assuming that you're cool. But the people who are going to look at you and really want to know if you know what you're talking about, those buyers are the people that are going to buy once they trust you. And you can't do that if you can't explain the clothes yourself. 3rd, we talked about benefit statement versus feature. We talked about the difference between content and engagement on social media. And I think the last thing, and I don't want to talk about it because I literally will just talk for hours, would be the biggest thing is the other big thing. Everything's the biggest to me. I'm kind of an extremist. But understanding like the emotional triggers for people to buy. So do they feel guilted into buying because it was someone else's party? Is it, treat myself day, Monday? Do they love it and they're addicted? Those kinds of things, like you'll see, I posted a whole post on it, which by the way is not mine. I found it online. But that kind of runs you through understanding what brought people to you. And I think the last thing I'm going to tell you guys is like, you need to be human beings. So I give so much stuff away. And it is not because I'm making $1 million, because I'm not. I'll tell you that right now. But I do it because I think it's important. Like, I have so many new girls on my team who are like, I can't afford to give leggings away. Sorry, not sorry. I can't afford it. And I just want, for those of you who feel that way, if you're out there, like I promise, you can't afford not to give leggings away. You can't afford to not go into your community and go to the local grocery store and give the lady that always bags your groceries a free pair of leggings. And you don't have to make them an ugly pair. Because the more people that feel like you are a human being and you want your business to be successful, so you're willing to put yourself out there, the more true VIPs you're going to get. True VIPs. I mean, I would love to be more impressive than this, but I think that might be all, folks. Online, I love that everyone wants to be online. I think it's great because I love online businesses. But if you're just going to be online, I'm telling you, it is like the steepest hill to crawl up right now. I'm not saying it's not possible because everybody can make something possible for themselves. But it is a steep hill if you are not already doing it. The other thing that I'm going to say it's not really popular, but to be honest, is if you are struggling in sales and you are a heavy participant of multi-consultant sales, I would like to pose a question to you, which is if I invited you on a regular basis to shop 40,000 pieces and twice, 3 times you showed up and you couldn't find anything that you liked, got a 40,000, but you're just like, eh. And then I was like, whoa, Thursday, I'm going to post all 600 pieces of my inventory. Please come shop it. I'd be like, no thanks. No thank you. And even more so, do you want me to watch you online for an hour when I know you're only opening 40 pieces? Like, you introduced me to that multi. Thank you so much. I'm good. And I know there's a lot of people out there who get super crazy VIPs from there. Great ones. People who fall in love with the consultant and they stick with them. And I have no problem with that. I have them too. But for those of you that are trying to lift your business or get yourself out of a rut or are just getting started, you may find that pond already has fish that are accounted for. And that all you're doing then is like swapping fish for fish. You're not adding anything new. And that's just what I had to talk to my team about that now. If you're coming into this game wanting to just add yourself into the pool of consultants with all the same buyers, and you're not willing to go out and do the work to add to the pool of buyers, it's kind of not fair. Like, think about that. That's kind of like, it's kind of a weird, selfish gig you think you have going on. You're just going to buy into the already established database, but you don't want to have to do any work to get your own customers. Like, that's kind of weird. So just know that for those of you who are not successful as you want to be, I do not want you to dump all of your eggs in multi-baskets, because I think for the quick hits of the 3 and the 4 items that you might sell where you feel like, that was better than nothing. I think the amount of work that you're doing, you're eventually going to look at yourself and be like, I just worked for 3 hours to post all this stuff. And then I had to follow the sale and I had to advertise and I do all that stuff. And then the 3 items that you sold, all of a sudden it's not worth it, right? Like, you made $50 profit, but you had to work like 7 times more hours to get there. So I just want you to consider it. I think that for when multis first came out in April, there's a lot of people who jumped on that bandwagon and it works for them. And I'm not saying that it doesn't. I just think that if you have not gotten into them, that might not be the best place for you to make your next step. I think at this stage in the game, we need to be calculated in the risks that we're willing to take with the business. Before it was like, I'm going to try everything. And I just would be a little bit more calculated before introducing my VIP page to other consultants at this point. From a pro hostess standpoint, guys, there's like no topic that enrages me more. So I don't know that I have anything wildly intelligent to say, but like, just think, I always just try to put myself in the other person's shoes, right? So this girl probably has perfect ponytails, does parties where she does no work, and then you give her free stuff. And while I know, I just had a girl who's been struggling for probably 2 months since before the holidays started, and she did a pro hostess and sold like 80 items, and it was awesome. And I can't say that I didn't know it was a pro hostess at the time, but I think there's something almost dangerous about that because they're not consistent. And if you're trying to be in LuLaRoe to pay off like a medical bill that's like 10 grand, you're going to jump in and jump out in 6 months. You want to roll with a pro hostess? Go ahead. Professional hostesses are people who have like a group already set up, and then they invite consultants to post for them. And they reap all the rewards. A lot of them ask for first dibs on stuff. So she sold 80 items, and it was one of those things where I wanted to be so excited for her, but she never did it again. And I think that there's something, we were at Leadership, Amy and I, and this guy spoke on dream making, and he said, one of the worst things that you can do is help foster a dream that does not have a possibility, because failed dreams only make people feel worse. Making goals that are impossible make people feel worse, and you just feel kicked down. So I just feel like from a pro hostess standpoint, the information that you're being fed about the success of those, if you've heard it, I'm not doubting them. But if you aren't here for just 6 months to pay 10 grand off, and you're in here for the long haul, again, the facilitation of a VIP group and a local community following in your area is what's going to do that. You need to start making long-term decisions for your business. You really need to start thinking about where you want to be in 6 months in terms of business and where you want to be in a year, and start to make decisions that make sense for you today and in the long run. Because otherwise it's super easy to make short-term decisions that could be rough. The other thing I want to just note for you guys, and I promise I'll stop babbling, is if you guys are here listening to this, one, I love you, because I love people who are just willing to listen to others to help make their business better. I think that's important. Step one is acknowledging that you're not the only person out there, and that there could be other resources. I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Period. But the other thing is if you're here and you're like, I want to get my business to the next level, like I really do, you really need to come up with a business plan. And that goes along with short-term and long-term goals. So you really need to be able to write down what your goals are, and then financially what it takes to get there, and then break that down to profits and what your sales per month need to be. So just like if you wanted to cruise qualify, right? You've got to be able to sell $4 grand, $3 grand a week. To do $3 grand a week, you really need to be able to sell at least 100, maybe 175 items, something around there. Maybe it's more. I don't know. On average, depending on what you're selling, 175, 200 items. And that can break down further to be about, whatever items a day. I'm not doing math right now, it's late, but getting big things into tangible bite-sized pieces. Because I find if you make a big term goal, you can decide how possible that goal is by breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. And if those bite-sized pieces are still a mouthful and you still don't know if you can handle it, then maybe you break that down a little and then see what that ends up being long-term. But you've got to do that. Like, you've got to decide what you want for your business and how much inventory it's going to take to get there and how many sales you have to do it. And then if sales are tank on Wednesday, like, what are you going to do on Thursday to make up for the delta from Wednesday? And for those of you that don't know what delta means, like the difference to make up for it. If you can start attacking this like a salesperson, giving yourself a quota and doing one of those things where you really commit to not missing that quota. You are not going to miss this. This is something that has to get done or you lose your job. Think of it like a real sales position. I just find that being able to commit to your goals is just a little bit easier. Hey, bud. Hi. All right, so I've been babbling. Hopefully it was helpful. What questions do you guys have? Or Amy, is there anything that I didn't come across? And again, pro hostesses, guys, like I don't like talk. I don't even like considering people that just do things for free stuff. So that's the other thing. Hostesses in general, right? Biggest pet peeve. I'm like, yes. They're like, what happens if your hostesses are terrible? And I'm like, oh, okay, explain to me what does terrible mean? They're like, well, hostesses are only here for the free stuff. I'm like, wow, okay. That's a legitimate claim. That would stink if they especially don't work for it. What did you say to them to get them to host? Like, what was the expectations you set? And they're like, well, I told them that they should host with me to get free clothes. And I'm like, all right. And they came here to get free clothes and you're disappointed. So maybe we need to start prepping hostesses a little different. Maybe it's not just about the clothes. It's about finding people that you need. Find friends that you think need new clothes. Find friends that you think would be interested. Start talking about the clothes with benefit statement. Do you have friends that have kids that want to look put together but don't want to feel dressed up? Do you have friends who are running around chasing kids all day? Do you have a lawyer friend who just wants to wear comfy clothes all weekend? Those are 4 people, I promise, if you invite to shop with me, we could make sure we get you those 3 pair of leggings that you didn't think you could afford. We can get the hook up there. Then they're working on a goal. You've given them the 5 scenarios or 6 scenarios to invite to your party to help them reach their goal. That's powerful. That's different than saying, invite 75 people, rando commandos from your newsfeed, and cross your fingers they buy so that I can give you free leggings. Because it's hard. It's a hard conversation to have. It's a hard conversation to go to a lady who's like, hey, your people only bought 8 things. The hostess is not going to say, oh, well, let me force people to buy 2 extra things to get something else. You know what I mean? Have them already in their head be talking about the kinds of people. Treat people like people. The kinds of people that benefit from this. The exhausted moms that just want to look pretty but want to look together, right? The teacher that wants to be comfortable, but the teaks that she wears make her legs look frumpy, so she wants skirts instead of dresses, or leggings with shirts instead of dresses. You know, that person out there that wants to be able to buy the same shirt in 50 different colors because they just like the shirt. I'm like that, by the way. I'll like find a t-shirt at Gap and get it in every color because I just get comfortable. Find creatures of habit. You can find me creatures of habit with fashion. I promise I can turn this around for you. So I think from a hostess perspective, switching your perception on that, because you can't bait people with free clothes and they get disappointed that all they came was for the free clothes. You can't be mad that they did exactly what you told them to and are now here for free leggings. So, okay, I promise that's it. Any questions? I get like thumbs up so I know like people have a pulse here. I haven't been talking to myself. I'm not on like a 40-hour delay where this is going to be obnoxious to watch. All right, laughing face, I can take that. Yeah, Amy, we can post my contact info. Absolutely. You're so welcome. I hope it was fun. Yeah, totally stalk me. Totes. My husband does a lot of sales. If you guys have husbands in biz, guess what? Ladies don't really care about us at all. There's something about husbands selling LuLaRoe. They don't have to be husbands that like put women's clothes on. If your husband does that, that's great. Mine doesn't dig that, doesn't think it's funny. But he's funny and people like him. So just be willing to throw your family out there. Seriously, be willing to put your family out there. Show your kids if you're willing to do that. Show people that they are supporting human beings. And I think that will help. Anybody's any questions or things that I did not cover, let me know. But thank you for letting me live on this wall forever. This is so exciting. And anybody needs anything, feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate you guys letting me come here. And if anybody's any questions, let me know. Tag me though, because I won't be able to see the questions, and that way Amy doesn't have to like try to manage it. So see if you can tag me and I'll get your questions answered. And you can always hit me up via private messenger. I love you all. Hope to see most of you guys at leadership and then at convention. And if anybody's cruising, I'll be there, deck 8. Come hang out with me, okay? I love you all. Bye.